Hey, today we're going to check out the newest Truth Enforcers Warbond together. We'll see if it's strong against Automatons and Terminids, check out the stats, also look at the new booster, Dead Sprint, and much more. If you can't support the channel, please tap the like button below at any point and subscribe with notifications on. The first reward we're going to take a look at is the PLAS-15 Loyalist pistol, which has a damage of 125, capacity of 7, recoil of 8, and a fire rate of 1000. The armor penetration is medium, it's one-handed of course, there's a charge up, and it has an explosive weapon trait. If we compare the damage to other energy weapons we have, like the Scorcher, which has a damage of 250, and the Purifier, which has a damage of 500, it's relatively close to the Scorcher's damage. Now I get it, those two energy weapons are not pistol types, but I thought it's a fair comparison since they're the only energy weapons we have. With that being said, we're going to move along and test it out on the Automatons first. The Loyalist pistol, similar to the Purifier, can be shot in the same manner. It's essentially a smaller version but deals less damage. You can easily one-shot smaller enemies like Commissioners and Jet Brigades. I suggest not wasting ammo by charging the pistol unless you're facing a group of enemies. In that case, charge it up before shooting. However, if you're dealing with just one enemy, shoot it without charging. It's way better to do it that way. The Scout Striders and Rocket Striders, on the other hand, can be shot through their armor since this weapon has a medium armor penetration. It's very similar in terms of the Scorcher. It can easily pass through their armor so that you can destroy them. I believe in this clip here, it took about 4 shots to wreck the Strider, and it's very useful against the Automatons in general. If we try it out on the Shield Devastators, it's not too bad at all. You can either shoot through the armor, or what I prefer to do is hold the charge up button right, and then shoot it. This way the Shield Devastator will open up its weak spot, and then you can start shooting away at its face or the body of the Devastator. It's quite effective on them. The Hulks, on the other hand, are a little bit different here. You can't use the pistol like you would with the Purifier because, if you don't know, you can actually charge up the Purifier and shoot behind the Hulk. It'll destroy the battery pack. Now, if you try that with the Loyalist, it's ineffective, and I would recommend throwing a stun grenade at the Hulk first, then go directly behind it to blow up the pack by simply shooting without charging up. It doesn't take that many energy bullets for it to explode, as you can see in this clip. I used roughly the whole magazine, and it wasn't too bad. Yet I wouldn't suggest using it on the Hulk unless you absolutely have to. Since we know what it's like to use it on the Automatons, let's see how it does on the Terminids. These smaller enemies are easy to kill whether you shoot them one time, or if you charge it up then shoot when they're roaming in packs. The Bile Spewer takes about 4 shots in the dome if you don't miss, and it's quite easy to use on them. You can of course charge it up to make them explode. It took roughly 2 charged up shots for it to explode. The Brute Commanders will need to receive about 6 to 7 shots if aimed directly at the dome, and I wouldn't suggest using the charge shots on them, so this way you can conserve your ammo. The Hive Gaurds took about 5 shots to put one down, and 2 charged up shots to kill one Hive Gaurd. If they're packed together, this should make it easier to take 2 or more with one single charge shot. The Loyalist pistol is not too bad on the chargers, but it will require you to get behind the charger and shoot at its orange squishy weak spot. Sure, it's possible to kill a charger with it, however you will need to inflict about 2.5 magazines to destroy its weak spot, so I don't really suggest using it on them, considering you're losing quite a lot of ammo. It's better to use a support weapon, or if you absolutely have to, you can use it, but again, I don't recommend it. Next, we have the SMG-32 Reprimand. The damage on this is 125, capacity 25, recoil 44, and lastly, the fire rate is 490. The only weapon trait here is that it has an armor penetration of medium. Let's compare it to the MP98 Knight that's got a damage of 65, capacity 50, recoil 15, and a fire rate of 1380. The SMG-37 Defender has a damage of 76, capacity 45, recoil 10, fire rate 520. Lastly, the SMG-72 Pummeler has a damage of 65, capacity 46, recoil 10, and a fire rate of 475. Out of these 3 weapons, the Reprimand is the only one to have medium armor penetration, although the recoil is higher than the 3 I've compared it to, and it also has a smaller capacity. Now that we have an understanding of the stats, let's check out how it does on the battlefield. The Reprimand might just be the best SMG we've ever received. It's the only SMG with medium armor penetration, and it shreds through a variety of enemies. Starting off with the Automatons, smaller bots are quite easy to destroy. Shielded Devastators and Rocket Devastators can be melted through their armor like butter. You can see in this clip here, it doesn't take too many bullets to destroy a Rocket Devastator. And when it comes to the Shielded Devastators, the bullets can go through the shield, or if you want, you can use a stun and kill them right away. Now both Rocket Striders and Scout Striders can be taken down with 3 to 4 shots to the pelvis. The Hulk cannot be penetrated through the front, as you can tell in this clip, so it's best to use a stun grenade to target the battery on the back. It takes about roughly 3/4 of the magazine to blow up the battery pack. As for basic Terminid enemies, of course, are easier to gun down. The Hive Guards don't even stand a chance against the Reprimand. All you have to do is set this sweet SMG to either semi or burst and just shoot about 4 shots to the head. And that's really all it takes. It's a fun weapon that's easy to use. The Brute Commanders only require 3 to 4 shots if you aim at the head, but if you do miss and hit the body instead, you will need to inflict more than just 3 shots. The Reprimand on the Charger is basically useless. I mean, I shot a lot of rounds towards its orange weak spot, and it practically did nothing to it. Now, I'm sure it's inflicting damage, and eventually it will be taken out, but I feel like I'm just wasting too much magazines and ammo on it. And yeah, but I just think it's a big waste to do so. Just like the Loyalists, I would say it's better if you use a support stratagem instead of trying to fire a bunch of shots at the Charger. It's not worth it when you could be saving your ammo instead. And again, I don't recommend it on the Chargers, and I would suggest saving your ammo. Last but not least, the third reward is going to be the SG-20 Halt. The damage is 385, capacity 16, recoil 120, and a fire rate of 80. Not only that, the weapon has programmable ammo, meaning you can swap between armor-penetrating flechette rounds, or if you would like to, swap to stun rounds. You definitely can at any moment, by the way. I'll show how that works here in a bit, but before we do that, out of the 6 shotguns we have so far, this one has the second highest in damage. It has the same recoil and fire rate as the SG Breaker, SG Slugger, and the SG Punisher. So you have an idea of what it's like in terms of stats. Let's see how strong it is against the Automatons. The SG-20 Halt is an interesting weapon to use. We have 2 options to choose from, either flechette rounds or stun rounds. The most incredible part about this shotgun is that if you're firing at a group of enemies, it's best to use the stun rounds first, then swap to your flechette rounds to take them out. You can of course use the flechette rounds first if you would like to. Anyway, if you haven't noticed, there are 2 separate magazines, meaning when you shoot a few bullets out of one mag, you can swap to the stun rounds, for example, and you will have a full mag to dispose of. Then you can swap back to the flechette rounds and use the rest of the bullets there. It doesn't consume your stun rounds at all, and this way it allows you to use 2 different magazines, which is really useful. And cool that Arrowwood developers made it so you can use it like that. With that helpful tip aside, the SG-20 Halt can be used on basic bots, and even on Scout Striders. It's quite enjoyable to inflict damage on. Although it does take quite a few shots to down a Scout Strider, a total of 6 shells. You can definitely use it on them, and it's effective. I wouldn't recommend using these stun rounds as it's practically useless, and you'll just be wasting ammo at that point. Aside from those enemies, it's incredibly strong on Devastators in general, especially if you're swapping between stun and flechette rounds. If you're not doing so, you can just aim for the head or the body, and it should be down quite easily. It's ineffective on Hulks if you're aiming straight at the body or head, so it's just like all the other weapons I talked about. You'll need to throw a stun or find a way to get behind the Hulk and start unloading your shells into it, but I wouldn't recommend doing that unless, again, it's necessary. And lastly, for the Terminid enemies, it's the same here. Basic bugs are able to be destroyed easily with it. The Hive Guards can be shot 3 times to the shielded part of their head, and that's all it takes. The Brute Commanders will require at least 3 shots if aimed directly at their dome. If you'd like to make it easier, you can stun them, then swap to the other programmable ammo to finish it. I personally enjoy using both rounds on groups of bugs that are rushing towards me, as it will stun them, stop them in their tracks, and give me enough time to swap to the other rounds to inflict heavy damage. The SG-20 Halt can be somewhat effective and useful when used on the Chargers. It actually requires less ammo to destroy the weak spot. All you have to do is inflict 11 rounds into its orange backside, and that's all you really need to do. So really, the Halt is way better than the Loyalist and the Reprimand if we're strictly talking about the Chargers. It does a phenomenal job on the Chargers, and I suggest using it if you have to. Plus, it's not a huge ammo waste either when inflicting damage. It's only 11 shots or less, depending on how weak the Terminid is. We've covered the 2 primary weapons and the secondary. How about we now talk about the Dead Sprint Booster? My first impressions when I saw this were that I didn't think it would be that useful, and well, to be fair here, I have the same opinion about it. I believe it's not that great. It's a neat idea, but overall, I'd rather choose a different booster instead. For example, in this clip here, I'm sprinting, then my health begins to dip fairly slow, which is nice, yet at the same time, if you're being shot at, it's going to be easy to die, so I don't recommend using it. Now you can pair it with other boosters like the stim booster to give you more speed and damage reduction, yet I don't think it's one of those boosters I would use. You may feel differently about it. If so, let me know what you think and how you would use it. I just don't like it that my health will dip low enough that it will require me to use my stims. I feel like at that point I'll be using more stims than I'd like to. I guess if you have a friend that has a stim pistol, this could be quite useful in that scenario. Now, my overall thoughts about this specific Warbond here is that it's enjoyable. I actually thought it was an incredible Warbond. Now, what I do think is a little iffy can sometimes be the plasma pistol, but that's not to say it's bad at all. I just think, you can go through ammo pretty quickly on it. However, I do not like the dead sprint. I think that's a terrible, terrible booster. Again, you guys may feel differently about it, but I just don't like it. I think it's just a health depleter, if that's a way of saying it. Yeah, it just depletes your health so fast, and I personally do not enjoy it at all, and I would rather use a different booster, and yeah, it's not great. But on the other hand, what I do enjoy quite a lot is the SMG, the new programmable ammo on the shotgun. It's amazing. You get 2 different magazines there. The armor is insanely good on the Automaton side. Now, on the Terminid side, it's not that useful. I would rather use it mainly on the Automaton side. It's not to say that it cannot be useful on the bug side, but I think it's way more useful on the Automatons. Speaking of the Automatons, the plasma pistol is insanely good on the Automatons as well, and it's quite useful. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, should you buy this Warbond or not? I think you definitely should buy it, especially if you love the idea of swapping between 2 programmable ammos. The SMG is phenomenal because of the medium penetration. It allows you to take out several different types of enemies, unlike the rest of the SMGs we have, which are light penetration, so you're not able to do half of the things we can do with the SMG. And lastly, the plasma pistol is just incredibly good on the Automatons. Like I mentioned previously, you can go through Devstators, shielded rocket striders, and all sorts of things. I mean, it's insanely good. It really is probably one of my most favorite Warbonds out of the last few we've had. And I highly suggest you pick it up if you do have the credits. Also, if you haven't checked just yet, the Superstore now has this armor right here, which I think a lot of us have been waiting for quite some time. A lot of us saw this in the leaked files, but now it's finally here. We have the UF-84 Doubt Killer. So if you have the extra credits, or perhaps you have not bought the Warbond just yet, you can pick up this armor because it has this same armor passive that it does in the Warbond. I think it's by far one of my favorite armor designs, as well as the rest that's in the current Truth Enforcers Warbond. So I definitely recommend picking this up, again, if you have not picked up the Warbond. Now, before I end this video, I would love to see your loadout suggestions with the new Warbond items. If you can, post them below, and I will post the recommended loadouts in the next video. Not only that, if you did post a comment in the last video, I will include that one as well. With everything out of the way, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the top comments in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below, and I might just feature you. The first comment is by Everlist471. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize the orbital Gatling barrage was buffed. I just thought they changed the sound. Now all that's left is for the Eagle strafing run to sound like an A-10 Warhog, and life is complete. Yep, if you guys didn't see that video, definitely check it out. Yesterday I uploaded a phenomenal video. The second comment is by Shamuckus9154. The backgrounds on the Warbounds are always a thing. And you're not wrong there, I just didn't notice it. I guess I was oblivious to it. And last but not least, we have Juju Pants 2486. Fun fact, if you have a Seif loaded with some explosive, you can use it to take out signal jammers when your stratagems are on their lunch break. I love how you said that it's a lunch break. Never heard it like that, but awesome comment to everybody. Again, if you would like to, comment down below. And also, if you're not subscribed, click that damn red subscribe button. It's free. It's completely free. You're not going to be charged. And you know what? If you do, I'll slaughter a bunch of automatons and terminids in the name of democracy. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.